So our content for today, first of all, we've got Beverley Tyrrell, a Senior Account Manager at Geomni UK. So Beverley is going to tell us about the map data, which is available via Geomni Digimap, and give us some examples of use of that. There'll be time for questions from Beverley, and then I will give a short demo of Geomni Roam, which allows you to browse the mapping data and how to use our data download facility as well. And again, there'll be more time for questions if we have more questions after that.
Okay. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name, as Viv has kindly said, is Beverley Tyrrell, and I'm the Senior Account Manager here at Geomni UK. Today I'll be taking you through the Geomni products that are available within the Digimap portal, and over the next 15-20 minutes or so I'll run through a summary of these products for those of you who haven't discovered us as yet, their features, what's available from the latest update, and some use cases as well. There should be some time afterwards for questions, but I'll also provide my contact details so you can actually contact me offline as well if you'd like to. So our company was started off life as the Geo Information Group, and we're initially supplying photography, aerial photography that is, to local and central government customers primarily. And recognising that this high resolution imagery was a valuable resource, we were able to use our expert photo interpreters to extract further information and create geospatial data sets. And that included residential building information and land use details in the beginning. We went on to create a mapping database for London, which comprised of a 4-tier hierarchical database supporting a detailed map of this area. And we continue to develop these products as well as collect further information from the aerial photography, and included more accurate building footprints, aspects such as their age, their type, whether they were listed, the number of floors, etc. And this actually was of interest to Verisk for their insurance and risk management solutions. So much so, they actually acquired us back in 2016. Yes, gosh, 5 years ago now. And with their help, we've gone on to expand our databases further, both in coverage and the content. So now our buildings and land use data cover all of the country, and our UK map product now covers out to the Greater London area, out to the M25. Customers have included utility companies looking for older properties for pipe replacement schemes, for example, consultancies looking for suitable sites for new retail developments, and of course academia for research projects. So if we go through each of these in detail, UK Buildings, as you might have surmised from its name, offers information on buildings' location, its characteristics and features. And most of the features that you see here in this list have been observed. But some fields, such as roof and wall type attributes, are actually modelled based on the age and other characteristics of the properties. And the image that you can actually see here is actually all of the building footprints spread across the country. There's no background mapping at all. So you can clearly see the spread of buildings across the country, where the more urban areas clearly are. And in addition to these footprints, we've collected other details such as how they're used, the residential building types and their heights, and all the buildings have the Ordnance Survey Open Identifiers attached. So that's namely the unique property reference numbers, or UPRNs. And this enables our data to be easily linked to the Ordnance Survey products, so it can be analysed for a variety of purposes. Further to the national data, we have gone into further detail into the urban areas. And when we describe urban areas, we mean cities or towns with a population over 10,000. And when we say urban plus, this is where there's been development on the outskirts of these areas. So information collected for these areas include building materials, so whether it's wall or brick or concrete, whether the non-residential building elements, so if there's a 3-storey office block, for example, attached to a single-storey factory unit, then we capture details about both of those elements. not just the addressable point. We capture details of this building age, whether there's a visible basement. And across England and Wales, we've actually identified sites. And when we say site, we mean an area of land that's identified by physical features or ownership, and that creates a boundary, or an area of consistent land use. So if we use a residential property as an example of that, the site would include the front garden, the house, its garage and back garden as well. And finally, for now, we also have the energy performance certificates, or EPC data, where it's available, included as well. And we have certain features extracted from that that's automatically included. We do continue to develop our products, and we're currently reviewing other features that could also be included. So whenever these developments come through, they'll be updated to our database and to Digimap itself. So in terms of the Digimap platform, it's worth mentioning that the buildings data available to you is a simpler subset than what we collect in the full database that I've just described. So as you can see here, we have things such as the building age, the footprint, the building and property areas, its height, and how it's used effectively. Now, whilst obtaining the full version is possible, it will incur fees even for academic usage, but I'll include my contact details at the end, or we can go through it in the Q&A briefly if you want to do that in this session, and we can discuss your particular usage and the licensing that could be required for you. We publish new editions every 6 months, and for UK buildings, that means March and September, we'll see new releases. And as I mentioned, they'll be available in the Digimap portal as well. September's edition has actually seen a significant uptick in the premise ages, with over 2 million, I believe it is, added. And that's been prepared from a number of sources, including the newly available energy performance certificates. In the full database, we also have included the distance to the nearest premise, and a further 15,000 properties have had the basement flag included. So moving on then to the land use product. This is a database that consists of 27 different land use classifications, and that's been used for a variety of sectors, including telecoms network and wind farm planning projects. So over the recent editions, we've been improving the way that the UK land database is classified, especially in the urban classification. So you can see here how it looked in 2020 version of the database, and then here in 2021. The classes and formats provided have actually remained unchanged, and the maintenance from this database is now linked to the UK buildings product. By adding in new buildings and sites from UK buildings, it allows us to actually update UK land much more simply. The urban classifications, and specifically those concerning the low, medium and high density urban areas, are now based on more robust calculations rather than just by eye. So areas of urban centres have actually decreased at the expense of high and medium density areas, and that's as a result of including the building use, the density and settlement sizes in these calculations to determine which classifications it will come under. On the other hand, the number of farms have significantly increased compared to previous editions because of the inclusion of the buildings data. Future biannual updates will be included in the portal, but will be published around June and December time. And the last of our 3 products, UK Map, is in essence a seamless database of vector polygons that characterise the surface topography of London. And at the simplest level that you can see here, we've colorised it using our standard classifications based on a very low level detail of use. So this defines buildings, man-made surfaces, vegetation, water and woodland. However, when you dive into the database, you can drill down And you can see that there are over 200 classifications of land use if you were particularly inclined to go into that level of detail. But what this actually means is that you can identify residential or retail areas very quickly. Or at the other end of the scale, you can differentiate between different types of schools or hospitals, or whether there's a coffee shop or a takeaway, for example. And whilst this has all been on the ground floor, we do also look at what's happening above, especially when there's retail on the ground floor. And we provide information about whether it's office or residential or vacant, for example. We also collect our own addresses that we collect independently of other sources. And if that wasn't all enough, we do also include terrain and surface modelling and high resolution aerial photography. The latest version of UK Map, edition 27, I believe it is now, covers the Greater London area and beyond, as you can see in this graphic here, and that's over 2,500 square kilometres in total. The areas that we've identified as having significant change have been updated using our latest imagery that was captured in 2020, and certain address fields have been extended from 25 to 100 characters in length, which allows full names to be included so they're not truncated. There have been nearly 19,000 areas of identified change, and the next edition will see further updates from the aerial photography coming through. And we'll also be expanding the addresses coverage out to the M25 further. So as you can imagine, going back to the buildings data, it's very versatile and can be used for a really wide range of projects. As I mentioned, our parent company, Verisk, was so impressed with our product, they bought us. And this has helped them to inform their business, to enhance their analysis of buildings, primarily for insurance purposes. And this can be utilised by different types of products, such as home, pet or car insurance, as well as being used to calculate rebuild or new build costs. As you'll have seen with the recent news and discussions, such as those at the COP26 event in Glasgow, energy consumption and carbon management of buildings, especially when heating residential properties, will need to be a key priority in reducing the amount of carbon that we produce and reaching the net zero target by the middle of the century. So information about how old a building is, what material the roof or the walls are made of, how it's used, all of these features and more will be used to great effect in conducting an energy audit and to evaluate what measures will be most effective in lowering our carbon emissions. Building heights are also an important factor when looking at risk assessments, especially emergency situations, or to calculate how much water pressure would be needed to reach the top of the building, for example. But have you ever considered that knowing how tall a building is actually helps us to plan new developments, especially in urban areas? Well, if we consider the central London area, they have a protected view system, and this controls the construction that's actually allowed around the area of St Paul's Cathedral, and so that the site of the cathedral isn't obscured. Similar rules govern the line of sight to and from the monument of the Great Fire of London, the Tower of London, and the Thames. Therefore, developers use the City of London's core strategy to plan where buildings can actually be built and how tall they can actually be built up to. Nationwide land use has been used by telecoms companies in planning where to place their transmitters to avoid interference in their signal. And that's happened across the 3G, 4G and 5G network. Planning consultancies have used this data to calculate natural capital. And what they mean by that is natural capital refers to the elements of the natural environment which provide valuable goods and services to people. So, for example, a woodland can be regarded as a natural capital asset from which flows valuable benefits or ecosystem services. So this area can reduce flood risk or can increase carbon capture. However, a recent customer obtained the land use data for their area in order to calculate accurately the amount of urban coverage they had, and other areas such as mining and agricultural areas, industrial, retail and business parks, for example. And they plan to keep on accessing this data at regular intervals so they can calculate the same percentages over time, so they can review how their area is being changed, and it helps to also inform their future planning proposals. UK Map has a wide range of uses, including planning sites for development, for new homes, for example, or retail sites, identifying suitable residential front gardens for either off-street parking or electric vehicle charging points. And during the pandemic, we actually provided pavement width analysis so that pavements could be closed or widened, or even made one way to help pedestrians to social distance safely. However, emergency services have also used this database to understand the risk to life in emergency situations. So, for example, if you think of when a fire occurs in a restaurant, they need to assess the threat to life in the surrounding areas and the surrounding buildings. So they look at whether there's a flat above or adjoined to the restaurant, and that will help them then to send the appropriate response vehicles out to the situation. So that was a really quick run through. I hope I've shown some of the interesting examples of how our data can be used, some of the unique features that you can see, and showing that it can be used as a consistent and detailed view of Greater London and indeed the country, and can be used in a variety of ways. They can be used both in the Digimap Roam and download functions, which I believe that Viv and Emma will take you through in just a second. But I'd be happy to go through any questions that you might have, and I'll then flick through to my contact details in case you want to contact me afterwards. So yeah, are there any questions?
Super, thank you very much, Beverley. That was a really interesting run through and lots of, really quite a wide range of examples, I think, of use, which was really interesting to see, particularly the, the sort of carbon capture and finding EV points. So I don't think we have any questions right now. So what I'm going to do is just share my screen and give people a quick demo of Roam and download, as you said, and then we'll still have some time for questions if people have any later. Okay, so this is our Digimap homepage, and the Geomni collection is along on the right here. So we've spoken about Roam and download. Roam is where you can browse the maps. You can then output the maps as a PDF or PNG or JPEG file. On the data download, if you want the actual data, the raw geospatial data in a range of formats, this is where you would come to get it. If you want to do some analysis on it, perhaps in ArcGIS, CAD, QGIS or other software, you would come to data download. So I've got time to quickly take you through both of those, but I'll just also highlight that we have a web services button here. Now, when I select that, you'll see that it explains that this is a web map service. So you can take the URL, you just would copy this link here, and this allows you to then view a stream of the mapping images of the Geomni mapping data in your software, whether that be ArcGIS or something else. It is the licensed data. We're using, we license the data from Geomni UK for educational use. So you would have to give your username and password for Digimap before you can access that. But if you don't want to do any analysis, then, taking a stream of the mapping images into your software to combine with the data that you're using already could be a really efficient use of it. So that's the web map service. So let's go back and I'll quickly show you Roam. So this is the opening screen. We're over at GB. I'm going to open this map information panel on the left here. So this is where I can find out which of the Geomni UK products I'm looking at. So this is the UK land. So this is the one that's suitable for display at this scale. As we zoom in, more maps from Geomni will become available. Now, you may not have used Geomni Roam before, but it's essentially the same as our other Roam applications for the other Digimap collections. There are some variations between them. but they're very similar in layout and the key functions are all the same. So I'm just going to show you some of the key functions which are useful to use with the Geomni data rather than give you a blow-by-blow account of Roam today. So what I'm going to do is to zoom in on Greater London, just to give you an idea of the mapping that's available, and so we can see the UK map stuff as well. So as I zoom in, I'm going to open my base maps. So at the moment, it's just UK land that's available. Once I zoom a bit further in, some other base maps pop up. So the UK buildings product is now available, and you can select either layer. You could select use or age. So I'm going to select age, and I'm also going to open this map content legend on the left here in the sidebar, so you can see the key to the layer. Now I'll zoom in a little bit further on South London here, and then I'll show you how you can select a building to see its attributes. I'm sorry, I don't know why this is looking quite so fuzzy. It seems to be taking a little while just to catch up, so let's give it a moment just to catch up with itself. So you may have noticed as I zoomed in there that other layers also became available, other base maps, I should say. These are the UK map, part of UK map. So there's the aerial imagery and also this base. So as Beverley said, that's just available for Greater London out to the M25. So a couple of tools I wanted to show you from this top toolbar here, there's this little information tool. If I select that and then select a building from the map, the attributes from the UK buildings product come up here. So you can see property, building number, building area, height, and so on. And this is the age part of the product. So it tells me this is a modern and a retail use. So you can use that information tool on any of the Geomni products. I'll flick to land because I didn't show you me using it on that one. So let's see, I've got this lilac-y part here. I'm not sure why that's working, apologies. But essentially, my tip, I think, for using many of the Roam clients is to keep the base maps open as you zoom in so that you make sure that you can see all of the different products that are available at different scales. So I can try the UK buildings use here, and again, you can see you've got your key on the left, agricultural, commercial, defence, and so on. And again, I could use my information tool to find out this is a modern building for use in manufacturing. Now I'll zoom in a little further in this area here, and then I'm going to turn on the UK map layer. So this is the base layer which Beverley was talking about, which has been used for various types of analysis, such as the pavement widths example. And again, this feature information tool is available, and it may come up with more than one option for a point, and you can flick through them in this table on the left here. And we've also got the aerial imagery available. One other thing I wanted to show you were our overlays on the left here. There's a UK map tree canopy, which you can turn on. So it shows you the tree canopy all over London. I'll go back to the base, and then I'll just turn that off so you can see it. And then there's also this UK map upper floors layer here. Perhaps not a very good location for that one. So that is how you make your way through Roam, browsing and getting information on the different maps. The final thing to show you in here is this 2-up view. So if you select 2-up, it allows you to compare different base maps at the same scale. So let's say I've selected base map over here. I could turn on the aerial imagery on the right there. And then if you're not quite in the right location, you can zoom and pan from there. So I hope that's been useful. There's this little cloud button here on the top toolbar, which says use this area in data download. If I select that button, it opens up the data download tool, and it opens it up centered on the location which you had selected within Geomni Roam. So that's potentially useful. If you've identified the location that you're interested in with the detailed data visible, You can then flip over to data download if you decide you actually need to download the data. If you just open it up straight away without using the link from Roam, there are lots of options at the top left here that allow you to find your area of interest. So it's a step process to download the data. The first is at the top left here, select your area of interest. So that's already happened for me here because I've come from Roam, so my little orange square is already highlighted, but there's lots of tools to help you if that's not what you want to do. So the most simple one is the draw rectangle. So if I highlight that, I can then select a different area on the map. Okay, so once my area is selected, it's a matter of selecting the data that you want. So let's say I'm interested in the UK map. I'll take the aerial imagery and the UK map. And then the products with national coverage that we've looked at, the UK buildings and UK land are here. So it's simply a matter of checking the boxes next to the ones you're interested in. There is a little arrow here, and if you open that up, it gives you a product information box. So that tells you the date. So for our UK buildings, we've got September of this year is the currency of the data we're looking at. And it also tells you the formats that are available. So really helpful if you need to figure out which one is going to work in your software. So that's my first two steps. Select the area, select the products. Then I add to basket. And then the basket opens and there are formats which vary between product. But one of the options may be versions. So for example, for aerial imagery, I can select between two different versions of the data. In fact, for 2 or 3 of those, I can select a version. And then one of the key options is the format. So you can select between the available formats. And once you've done that, you simply request download. We will send you an email confirmation and then an email when your data is ready to be collected with a link to allow you to do that. So those are the tools that we offer for use of the Geomni data. I'll pause there and see if anyone has submitted any questions, Emma, or if there's anything else that you think is worthwhile me showing people.
Nothing yet, only to reiterate that we will send people a recording of today's session so that you can reuse it. And Viv, if you could show people where the license is available so they can see what's permitted and what's not, that would be very useful.
Certainly. Okay, so do you mean just go to the help to show them?
Yeah, to show the help one, because that will show the licenses for all the collections as well, which I think is quite useful.
Yeah, okay, so there's a little, in all our applications, there's a little question mark. So that will open the help center. So we have a copyright and licensing section here. So this is where you'll get some introductory information to our educational licenses. There's the acknowledgement statements, which you must include whenever you use one of these maps in your research or in any assignment. Each collection has a different acknowledgement statement. Some of them have different statements for different products, so please do make sure that you refer to this. I should say that when you print a map as a PDF or JPEG, it does have the acknowledgement statement on it. So we do that for you, but we're aware that sometimes people want to crop them and so on. So they're all listed here. And then all of our licenses, our educational user licenses, are listed on the left here. So this is the Geomni one, which will tell you, if you then user license agreement, exactly what you've agreed to when you've registered to use the collection. Emma is our license expert, so if there's anything specific you want to point out on that one, Emma, please do say.
Yeah, nothing particular. I'd like to go back to something Beverley said earlier about the full content of one of the data sets, that you could have the full content if you license the data directly from Geomni. That's fine. I think, Beverley, you said something earlier about there'd be a fee for that even for academic use. I suspect that I'm just hoping that hasn't confused people. That yes, you're right, the full data set is available directly from Geomni. There will be a charge for it, and the license conditions may be slightly different because, of course, you would issue your own license rather than using the Digimap one. Is that right?
Absolutely. So effectively, if you need to use it for a commercial project, or if you wanted to have the full data available but for an academic project, that's possible. But yes, it would need to come through to me to license that separately. So.
Yeah, okay. It's useful just to know that the licenses would be slightly different, even if the academic use is still covered, and the terms would be different. So it's just something to be aware of, I think, that's all.
Yeah, we do offer normally annual licensing, but we can offer shorter and longer terms than that. which will incur different discount rates. So we do try and make it as cheap as possible for academics. We do appreciate that there's not a lot of money running around, but that unfortunately, because it's coming from us, we have to cover our costs in sending that out. But obviously I'll send out my details with the slides, so that if anybody wants to talk about that, then please do get in touch and we can run through it.
Super, thank you.
Thank you, Beverley. I think it's also always worth pointing out, you always point this out, Emma, that if people aren't sure what they're allowed to do, after having had a look at the license, just do contact our help desk.
There is usually a way. It's just a question of which way, how it is, and whether it does cost extra or not. There's never a carte blanche no. It's just a question of finding the right way to do it, that's all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Beverley.
No problem. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for that, you guys.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Great. It's good to hear.
Yeah. I did have a quick question. It's not too
go
late.
ahead.
Can you use this service to determine the area and hectares of a site? I mean, conservation work. Sorry,
you sort of, I missed a little bit. It was a little bit muffled.
The area, can you calculate the area in hectares of a site?
We do have a measurement tool, but it wouldn't calculate hectares. Let me just show you.
It might, Viv.
It might, okay.
I think it gives you, if you look in the panel on the left, I think it gives you the measurement in both metric and imperial.
Oh yes, area. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so these are one of the,
sorry,
I didn't cover all these tools, but yeah, there are measurement tools, so I can select area, and then it's simply a matter of highlighting the area that I'm interested in. And
it doesn't do hectares, it does kilometers squared and acres. But yes, you can convert, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is another tool, drawing tools, where you can, add markers. You could, add a polygon to cover your area and put a measurement.
Could you divide a site into parcels or hectares? Divide a site into habitat types is what I'm looking for, really.
You might be better off looking at a different product, actually. If you look at some of the other Digimap collections, you might try the Environment Digimap one, which has got land cover data from CEH in it. Right. You can draw as many polygons as you like around the parcels that you like to use. And some of the CEH data, you might be better off downloading it as the vector version and putting it into a GIS and using that way.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Super. Well, if there's no more questions, I think we should end the session there. And huge thanks to Beverley for coming along. We always really appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. And we will send out slides and recording as soon as we can.